glorification of Srila Prabhupada must all take place on the platform of obedience to Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, such praise is hollow at best and quite likely hypocritical. And actually, why are we coming here to praise Prabhupada? Why should we praise Prabhupada? We praise someone, well, there are different reasons for praising. Usually, most people who praise another in this material world, it's either out of gross foolishness or out of sycophancy. You know the word, that word in your language? No. Sycophancy means, well, to put it in gross terms, licking the butt. So it's either out of gross foolishness, just like people praise a football star or a rock star or a cinema star, who have... Anyway, if I need to explain to you why it's foolish to praise these people, then you probably wouldn't be here. You'd be out watching a movie or something. So that's out of foolishness, and otherwise people praise others. They don't mean it, but because everyone in the material world likes to be praised. You are so wonderful. Then they become obliged to, yes, then they want someone wants to get something from someone else. They praise them. Oh, you are so great, you are so wonderful. Oh yeah, okay. What do you want? Yes, just do this thing for me. You go to a government office. My dear sir, you are so... Well, you have to pay them also. Maybe a little flattery will help. I don't know in this country of such things. Go on, I'm sure they do. If you have to pay the government officials also. Not so much. At the higher level, maybe. Anyway, there's another reason why someone praises someone else, and that's supposed to be the real reason, which is out of genuine appreciation. So, if we have we can't actually have genuine appreciation for the gifts that Prabhupada has given us unless we accept those gifts by following his instructions. We don't experience what is the gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us unless we accept it by taking it. And taking it means following his instructions. So, unless we're prepared to take the medicine, we don't get the cure. If we don't follow the process that Srila Prabhupada has given us, then we don't become Krishna conscious. It's a very simple formula. Conditioned soul plus sadhana equals unconditioned soul. Conditioned soul minus sadhana means still conditioned soul, getting more and more conditioned. Sadhana, service, all these... Sadhana is a very broad term. It doesn't just mean chanting japa and everything one does. Everything in the life of a devotee is supposed to be part of his sadhana. It's all meant to lead to the goal, the siddhi of attaining Krishna consciousness. So unless we actually follow Srila Prabhupada, what he has given us, then we can't really appreciate what he has given. And then what happens is that we often desire to get the bliss of Krishna consciousness minus surrender, but it doesn't work. First surrender, then bliss. Or as Prabhupada said, work now, samadhi later. It doesn't come round the other way. That we'll get all the bliss of Krishna consciousness and then, or there's no... This is what happens. We invent some other process that we'll just get the bliss and no need to follow so many things. And then what happens is that we may, or not we, but again, I'm trying to rephrase it. Certain persons may start to minimize Srila Prabhupada because they think that, well, why should we follow all these rules and regulations? And there are plenty of gurus who offer the highest bliss without having to follow all these things. So why should we follow that? And then it all becomes a cheating process. We fool ourselves into thinking that we're on some higher platform, when actually what happens is, this is what happens, sahajiyas. Sahaj means easy, so people who take it very easily. They want to think that they've got the highest bliss, and without following the basic rules, and they actually become envious of Prabhupada because you see he's giving all these rules, and out of their own, because they don't want to follow this, and at the same time they don't want to admit that they're fallen, then they start to blaspheme Prabhupada and say he was mistaken in so many ways. It's a very sad situation that we see all around us. So if we're actually going to appreciate Srila Prabhupada, we really have to follow what he says, accepting that he is the transmitter of the absolute truth. I was just reading today, actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's purports in the chapter "The Birth of Lord Krishna," and it's very interesting. It just happened to be in that section that Prabhupada said that a word juggler, a mystic performer, or someone who out of has an academic approach, they cannot be a guru. A guru means one who teaches Bhagavad Gita as it is. So that exactly describes Prabhupada, and that's the reason why so many people came to Prabhupada, being attracted by his books, by his teachings, because they're fed up of seeing so many mystic yogis who are actually bhogis, talking so many strange things which sound very mystical, but you end up with what? Just a rather more bizarre version of material life. Prabhupada, why so many people? Prabhupada himself, people asked that how is it that so many? Actually, even Prabhupada, he said one time on the plane, he was sitting next to a priest, and they said that, or was it a Jewish rabbi or something like that, and said, why so many young people are coming to you? They are our people. They're all Christians or Jews or young men and women. Why are they coming to you? Why are they so anxious for religion? When they were with us, they weren't at all interested. Prabhupada said, because I am giving the real thing. I am not offering them anything diluted which has no potency. They have recognized this is the real thing. So many people came to Krishna through Prabhupada because he gives the real thing. He doesn't mix it up, distort it, water it down, or tell you, well, you can do it, if you like, you can do it this way or that way or any way you like, and it's all the same. Which, for me personally, I remember I was totally frustrated with all these so-called yogis and priests, and just nothing there. All talk and hocus pocus, but nothing of any substance. So immediately upon coming in contact with Prabhupada's disciples and reading his books, I can understand this is something. This is real. This person is not just trying to allure me to become his follower or bring me into his camp to promote his own false ego. Just like they would say, oh, this guru, he has so many disciples, and you, Bhaktivedanta Swami, you only have a few disciples. And Prabhupada would say, of course, if you're selling diamonds, not many people will come. If you're selling glass beads, everyone will go. So if you give something of real value, you can't expect that everyone will come. Only people who can appreciate what is the genuine thing and who have the qualification to accept it. Of course, the qualification to buy diamonds is to have money, but the qualifications to accept pure Krishna consciousness means the seriousness and sincerity to do so. So, let us meditate on Prabhupada. What is our relationship with Prabhupada? What Prabhupada has come to give us. He didn't come to give us, he wasn't just another of the watered down, bogus yogis. So we shouldn't try to drag Prabhupada to that level. We can actually proclaim the glory of Srila Prabhupada, which is our duty to do. Evejosh Gushab Tribhuvan. Although this is mistranslated in the songbook as his glories are spread all over the three worlds, it actually means let his glories be spread all over the three worlds. Not that it's already spread so we can go to sleep. But it's our duty to proclaim the glories of Srila Prabhupada all over the three worlds. So how should we do that? Well, one way is to distribute his books. In his books, Srila Prabhupada has, in every line and every word, glorified Sri Krishna. But definitely his own glory is in doing so. So the people of the world, actually that's another glory of Prabhupada, is that he was never interested in his own glorification. You'll see all these yogis and gurus who went to the West, they made themselves famous. So there was just like the Chinmay Society or this transcendental meditation at Yogi Maharishi, whatever his name is. But you'll find that Prabhupada made Krishna famous all over the world. That people didn't know Krishna, except maybe a few scholars in the university. Krishna is a Hindu god, and that's about all. They didn't know. But Prabhupada made it so that people all over the world know Krishna. But still today, not so many people know about Prabhupada because he didn't promote himself. He only promoted Krishna. But it is the disciples' duty, especially that we are all followers of Srila Prabhupada. Let people know who is the real Guru, who's really giving the truth, who's not cheating others in the name of religion. So, the best glorification of Prabhupada is to follow his instructions. There's no glory to say, well, I'm a follower of Srila Prabhupada, and while you're drinking a beer or something like that. And that's no glorification. First of all, our lives should be so ideal. Prabhupada wanted this. Our lives should be so ideal that people will notice this. Oh, these Hare Krishna people, everything is so one. Behavior doesn't mean just smiling at them and saying, good day, how are you, and all this, but strictly following regulating principles, firmly dedicated to the path of Krishna consciousness. So in Prabhupada's in the course of time, people will notice that and appreciate, at least those who are sincere and spiritually inclined, they will notice that. So by our behavior, that people will know, oh, these people, where did they get? Oh, from Prabhupada. Oh, this is a real teacher. And people will see what is the difference if we're actually following. But if we think that, well, we have to become like karmis and then people will appreciate us, it doesn't work. We'll just be, then means we're trying to drag Prabhupada down to the level of all these people that he rejected. If we say, I'm a follower of Prabhupada, but to mix up with the people, we should watch TV a little bit, and this a little bit, and that a little bit, and everything else a little bit. And then we're not followers of Prabhupada. It's a disgrace to Prabhupada that we could call ourselves his followers and not follow him. Then it becomes Follow means you follow, which means to follow the instructions. Not that you just put his picture on the wall and Jai Prabhupada and that's it. But you have to follow his instructions. And one of his most important, he wanted his followers to follow basic principles of Bhakti Yoga. And above and beyond that, he very much wanted that his books be very widely distributed. Because Prabhupada's wish is that everyone should take to Krishna consciousness and everyone should know about Krishna. And as Prabhupada many times said, there is no better way to preach Krishna consciousness than to distribute my books. Prabhupada said, I am not writing these books. Krishna is standing at my side and dictating what to write. So these are Krishna's books. Prabhupada, when we say he's non-different from Krishna, non-different, it means it's not just some theoretical thing, but he's saying exactly what Krishna wants him to say. So he is as good as God. So these are some points to meditate upon. That how Vyasa Puja means to come to Srila Prabhupada in gratefulness and appreciation of the gifts that he has given us, and with a prayer that let me dedicate myself more and more to your mission, so that Srila Prabhupada's desire that every jiva in the universe become Krishna conscious, we can make some progress towards that goal. So as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we have the duty to follow him by following the basic principles of Bhakti Yoga, and also to preach Krishna consciousness. Of course, nowadays devotees are very concerned about social development and so many things like that, which is okay, but what about helping others also? Practically helping others by preaching Krishna consciousness. And practically speaking, we see that anyone, if they take up the mission of preaching Krishna consciousness, if they make it the main focus of their life, it may be whatever it may be. One may be working in a factory or in a whatever, having a job, doing a business. But if one thinks this is not the main focus of my life, it's just something I have to do, but the real purpose of my life is to be Krishna conscious and to try to assist Srila Prabhupada and his followers in the preaching of Krishna consciousness, when we see that, as Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita repeatedly, that such a person is helped by Krishna. We don't have to spend all our time worrying about social development and this things which are basically on the mundane platform, because Krishna helps his devotees. And even very difficult problems, they become much less if we become absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Because the problem doesn't seem as big when we become Krishna conscious, because we understand, well anyways, just my karma, but anyway, we have to go, whatever my problem may be, everyone who's not chanting Hare Krishna has got a lot worse problems, because they're not Krishna conscious, so it's our duty to help others become Krishna conscious. That was Prabhupada's mood. That he could have sat in Vrindavan and gone back to Godhead, but he thought, I have a duty. My spiritual master has ordered me. I have to take it up. I have to preach Krishna consciousness at great risk, with everyone discouraging him. With great difficulty, enduring heart attacks on the boat, and then nowhere to go in downtown New York, among the crazies, the hippies. This one hippie, he was living with a hippie. Can you imagine? Prabhupada came from Vrindavan. Even from the material perspective, Prabhupada is very cultured, gentleman, elderly, and he ended up living with a crazy, drugged-out hippie, sharing his room, and the boy on a drug fit went crazy. And Prabhupada actually, he was He was so crazy, Prabhupada ran out. He thought, this man, he may kill me. He was out on the street. He was never discouraged. He went on. Just with the thought that I have to do something to try to help these people. So real Vyasa Puja will be to try to imbibe some of that mood. Let me try to... Prabhupada is not asking us to risk our life and our health, and although he gave that example himself. But at least if all of us could take some of his books, maybe 5 books a week or whatever, somehow or other distribute them. Either you pay for them and give them away, or somehow distribute them to others. And if we do that, then we'll find that Krishna consciousness becomes much more real to us. We will, because the Prabhupada will shower his blessings on us. We have to, if we do something that is pleasing, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasadat. If we get his mercy, then we get the mercy of Krishna. So we know that Srila Prabhupada is very much pleased with this. If we just try to do that, and there's nothing in the world to compare with the pleasure of giving someone Srila Prabhupada's books. It's when you see someone who's, even they're not, the person themselves, you just, okay, give the money and rush off. They don't think much about it, and they're just rushing off in their harassed life. You see, Krishna is so kind. This person has got this book. It's the beginning of the journey back home, back to Godhead. I have to do some service to Prabhupada too, so I can at least try to inspire you. We hear a lot about this word, inspire. Who inspires me the most? But inspiration doesn't mean just something that goes ding in your head. But inspiration means that practically you take up service. Not just, I like the way he smiles and all this. But how we practically take up service. That's the meaning of inspiration. Prabhupada was a very practical person. He came with the message of the spiritual world. He very practically engaged everyone in Krishna's service. And because he knew that by doing so, then they'll become blissful, because that is the meaning of life, to serve Krishna. That is the platform of happiness. So on this Vyasa Puja day, yesterday at Janmashtami, I asked you all to read 1 chapter of Krishna book every day. So on Vyasa Puja day, now, first you Janma Sarthak Kari Karo Para Upaka, make your life successful and do good for others. So now, reading Krishna book, now you have to distribute Krishna's books also. That will be the proper thing for Vyasa Puja day. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, who saved us all from the darkness of ignorance and who is saving us at every moment if we take shelter of his lotus feet, which is the only way. Hare Krishna.
So after the swans have spoken, then the crows comes. Can I say? But I think it was.
There's no sound. Well, you can take this one.
As I think it was Jiva Goswami who said that origin of sin, it's actually forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of Krishna being the Supreme Person. Similarly, we can continue with Srila Prabhupada that the meditation about his personality, especially as it comes in form of Vani, his instructions. That's actually the key to free ourselves from our sinful habits and our conditioning. This is not just a privilege of few remaining Srila Prabhupada disciples. He saw in praxis that actually anybody who is engaged in this Vani, in, like example, book distribution, he actually is connected to Srila Prabhupada. Of course, through the media of his spiritual master, because that's how Guru Parampara works. But it doesn't mean when one is a father, the grandfather is not there. They are both there. It's like in a big family. The father is there, the grandfather is there. Sometimes the grandfather is even more merciful than the father. You know, when children run to the grandfather. So, anybody engaged in the activities which were directly desired by Srila Prabhupada, especially spreading Krishna consciousness, is getting realizations about Srila Prabhupada too. We met on the way people who actually never hardly met devotees. They just read a book and they got so attracted to Srila Prabhupada. So we are basically just collecting the remnants of Srila Prabhupada's preaching, the Maha. You know, we just get the Maha on the way. It is Srila Prabhupada who is mainly preaching and just collect on the way what is coming to us. So once just crossed my mind the story of his personal servant, which illustrates that I personally never even dreamt about it, to come that close to Srila Prabhupada. I saw Srila Prabhupada 3 times personally, and we never had a personal talk. He sent me and Prabhu, he sent suddenly a letter. I never wrote him a letter. I thought he has so many disciples. I'm getting my lessons daily on the street while distributing his books, so why should I write him? I had old brothers actually who helped me very much. And Srila Prabhupada also desired that actually a younger devotee takes advice from the older devotee. That's how I grew up. So once his servant, his personal servant, even got a little bit depressed because while traveling along with Prabhupada, he had the special privilege to witness Prabhupada arriving over and over again on these airports. I experienced this only once, but Prabhupada arriving at the airport, it was an unforgettable experience. The whole airport just kind of disappeared. It was just Vaikuntha. I personally, when I was in Frankfurt, which is a big airport, when Prabhupada arrived, there was no more Frankfurt, there was no more airport, it was just Prabhupada. It was the first time actually I saw Srila Prabhupada face to face. And so his servant got a little bit depressed because he saw this emotional, this ecstatic, welcome Prabhupada got. Can you imagine Prabhupada sitting in an airplane? The airplane is slowly rolling to the airport, to the gate. And behind this big glass walls, usually airports have this big glass walls. You see maybe 100, 200 devotees completely going crazy, And by that time, already people even in the airplane realized that this is something to do with this passenger who is traveling with them, this old Indian man. They asked him, they welcome you here in New York airport? I said, yes, they like me. So before even Prabhupada came out of the airplane, already it was something very, very extraordinary. The Buddhists were regularly disregarding all security advices and all the laws. And I can give you a picture of Prabhupada going through this huge Frankfurt airport. It's very big, so you have to walk before you can even fetch your luggage. You have to walk for quite a distance. And they had these huge corridors, and already those days they had these automatic stairs, but they were going, horizontal, just so people can stand there and they are transported to the exit. So Prabhupada got on that on that, on that staircase. And of course all the, let's say 120 devotees who came to welcome him, they wanted to see him. So nobody walked behind Prabhupada and made kirtan. Everybody went parallel to Prabhupada, just, making kirtan to watch him. So this means they blocked the whole huge corridor, meeting all these confused people who were heading for their airplanes, but who find no way to escape, because there was this wall of devotees coming towards them with Prabhupada in the center. I remember this one typical German, local guard who just had his walkie-talkie and he tried to organize the whole thing. So he was just standing there, just going, and then the devotees are going, Haribo, and they pushed him aside. They just saw the walkie-talkie just disappearing. And devotees couldn't care less if the whole German police would come together and shoot them on the spot. They didn't matter one thing, So, and Prabhupada took it like, anyway, I don't want to go describing this whole event. Each single second of it, as much one remembers that it was special. When Prabhupada came, we were not in the material world. There was no material laws really involved much. There was like, I missed the beginning of the whole event because I was a car driver. So I had to park the car in a parking house, which got this kind of spiral coming up. So I was just ending up on a roof parking there, along with 15 other Sankirtan vans we had those days. So then I ran to the entrance hall, and then there was this VIP lounge, the special room where Prabhupada was. There was a whole full Guru Puja going on, his feet were washed. There was whole German TV teams present, and Prabhupada gave him a short lecture even. So I just came right at the end of the lecture basically when Prabhupada exited. And then of course I had to run again to the parking lot to pick up the car. So the devotees were shouting at me, get the car, get the car. Because we had an agreement that the driver will drive Prabhupada very slowly out of the airport so we can catch up on a highway with his 15 vans and ride behind him. It was like a plot. This Mercedes Prabhupada drove is another story, that's a long story to it.
I want to hear that too.
Huh?
You want to hear that too?
Anyway, it's just... Already before Srila Prabhupada arrived, it was special band. I want to confuse the whole thing, but can you imagine just, 15 drivers heading for the vans to the parking lot at full speed? And driving the vans full speed to Spiral. You could hear the noise of these tires, 15 cars going through the glass down. And at the end, there was a cashier actually, there was a man sitting inside, who was operating this thing like this. So he heard the sound coming from above, these squeaking tires. So he got so scared, he opened the whole thing, and he was like, and he just drove on full speed like a fire brigade out of that thing. And within actually a very short time, we caught up with Prabhupada on the highway. And it was all white Volkswagen buses. Every Volkswagen bus had a flag, the typical German setup, So, and they were all horning and flashing lights and this. And then we continued with Prabhupada towards the temple. Devotees even arranged, there was a truck going ahead with a huge amplification system, which played Prabhupada's bhajans. So it was timed in such a way, Prabhupada to go through 2-3 small villages before we arrived at the temple. So then the truck came through. First people were singing a big sound, Prabhupada bhajan, and they all went to the windows to look. And just 3 minutes later, Prabhupada came in with his whole 15 Sankirtan vans behind. So it was actually quite nice because all the people saw in the windows, and they were thinking, something special to them maybe, and Prabhupada took it. I spoke with Achetya, was actually his name, the driver. Prabhupada was amazing. He was sitting actually in that van like this. Normally you couldn't do it, and he was sitting in front. So Achetya had a big problem because he had to put the gears in. Whenever he put the gear in, he touched Prabhupada's knee. Prabhupada looked at it. And then when we just passed the villages, people were waving, and Mr. Prabhupada took it completely normally. He was just, like a big welcome. So this was quite normal. Before we arrived ultimately into the temple, to the short letter. So back to the story. His servant was a bit depressed because he said, while massaging in the evening, Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, I don't feel that ecstasy. All these hundreds of devotees feel, and I'm with you all the time, but I don't feel that ecstasy somehow. And Prabhupada said, so you don't like your service? I said, oh no, Prabhupada, no, I like it very much. So then Prabhupada said, that's your relationship to me. Anybody can become ecstatic, Haribol, but this is your relationship to me. So this was a lesson which we all felt, more or less, that our relationship, as it was mentioned here in the beginning, is the relationship of service. Despite all the frustrations and despite all the despair we may experience on the way, as long we are engaged in that preaching service Srila Prabhupada gave, we are protected. That's actually the best protection we can give to somebody. Otherwise, how is it possible? Sankirtan devotee is going out sometimes for 15 years, facing the most dangerous circumstances. Physical stroke in you. It's dangerous, And practically, as long as they are in Krishna consciousness engaged, they are protected. What to speak of the spiritual protection? So, it's difficult to rationalize this process of preaching, because actually from a mundane, rational point of view, it doesn't make sense. All these people in this material world came here to forget Krishna, and here we are giving them books to remember them Krishna. It's exactly the opposite process. Prabhupada's appearance and his preaching also cannot be rationalized here. If we could transmit something a little bit to the people, how easy life was when Prabhupada was here. Like when Prabhupada was in Germany, every lecture he ended up, Hare Krishna, take prasadam and distribute my books. Thank you very much. And the Germans are going, ah! And this was like, it was so easy. It was easy, indeed it was easy. There was nothing what could stop us. There was nothing. And as we see after Prabhupada's departure, so many walls are built up, rational, so-called rational walls. Why we couldn't do that, and why it shouldn't work like this, and why we have to do this. And so many issues come up. There was one of my gurus said something very nice. He said, issues which were not discussed during Srila Prabhupada's presence on this planet don't exist to me. Because the issues which were already needed to be discussed, they were already discussed and Prabhupada commented on them. And actually when you take it like that, there is not much new coming. All this what we hear today, sometimes I don't want to go into this, but these little ideas people have, this was all there when Prabhupada was also here. But Prabhupada was just, and it was finished. It was all finished. Prabhupada said, Hare Krishna and be happy. Everybody realized, yeah, that's it. It's so simple. It's simple for the simple ones, very complicated for the complicated. But as once Nityananda Maharaj said, as an example in the lecture, he said, as the Krishna and his pure devotees, they bring the spiritual world to us, to the material world. And in this way the material world becomes actually spiritualized. And the conditioned souls, refreshed and ecstatic, enter that spiritual atmosphere. Yeah. But because out of habit, anartha, they bring their own material little attachments. And they try again, within that spiritual atmosphere, turn it into a material atmosphere. Because that's the kind of habit they have, and they understand. They say, this is, I understand. Yes, I understand. It's like a classical example. You join Krishna consciousness movement, you dare to be brahmachari, well, you don't get much applause nowadays for this in Kali Yuga anyway. So, especially maybe from the parents, it's very difficult, oh, my son became monk, In some countries it is very respected, but in most countries it's not. But then, at a certain point, the monk, meets the nun, and then they make a little monks and little nuns, and suddenly Krishna consciousness makes complete sense, isn't it? It's completely logical, and you get a big round of applause. Because this is what the conditioned soul understands. Yes, sex. Yeah, that's nice. That's what we understand. So this tendency is all the time there. But Srila Prabhupada, by his presence, he reversed those. In his presence, the material world was not logical. It didn't make any sense. And the spiritual life, that was actually completely common sense. It was nothing more logical as to do that. In Srila Prabhupada's presence, you are not like thinking, why do I look like this? Why do I do that? Rather, Prabhupada's preaching was, and actually he was preaching like that he faced even big established personalities in the material world, and he said, why did you forget Krishna? Prabhupada didn't say like, excuse me and please you have to understand, and No, Prabhupada said, you forgot your duty. And the response from these people was amazing. They were going, I promise I will never do it again. Even big people, like that. It was amazing. It was so pleasant to be with Prabhupada because that's you felt, this is really me. I am the devotee, the servant of Prabhupada. But when you have association with the material world and with its residents, then suddenly the logic starts to be reversed. And then you start to think, actually, I used to be happy when I was young, isn't it? Dancing in a kirtan, and it was so nice. But now I'm more mature. I know I start to understand. Yes, not so easy, not so easy. Do you understand the deeper meaning of Haribol? And then you start to, I am a devotee one. So actually, I'm very indebted to the devotee. He was the first one who preached to me. I was an artist, I was standing there painting in the art academy. And suddenly, he was sitting in front of me with this around the neck. So I was already starting getting interested. So I just was thinking, what is this? He said, this is Japa. And he started preaching. He was a German, So he was and he gave me the full doses, obviously preaching not from a realized platform. It was correct, it was correct. So I could just roll over, I said, you have to go with me to the temple. So I was going to temple, I was saying this is something with many columns and some Greek temple. I had some idea what temple could be. No, it was a small house in the suburbs of Heidelberg in a small town. You couldn't imagine how you can fit 80 devotees in a one family house. It works, it's possible, but it's purely transcendental thing. Just the amount of shoes in the entrance hall was just, I was thinking, they all got shoes here. So many shoes. And then devotees used to sleep on stairs. And the stairs go up. He used to sleep on stairs.
It's very place. You're going to very place. Very place was the same.
Very place. Well, for sure it was the same. Because it's in the city place. The city place.
Tiny place with like 1,800 devotees. One shower.
Yeah.
Well, one shower for the men and one for the women.
Yeah, the shower, that was another thing. The shower was, and you have to go in details. Now just give an idea what a luxury you have here. And I joined, I tell you, the shower, first of all, to go in the shower, this was for the hedonists. This was like the softies. It was a normal, small bathing room with bathing tub in it. Now, how do you fit 10 brahmacharis in one bathing tub? It's really amazing. with water running non-stop. And they fight over the shower. So you have to be very quick. How do you brush your teeth with 5 brahmacharis above each other? I mean, the one on the bottom is in a bad shape. Things like that. So actually we preferred always the tube in a garden. That was actually the more easy access. Of course, in the winter it becomes very interesting because the pathway to the tube is frozen. So you have to know how to balance in your gamsha, you run out and the water runs all the time, otherwise it will freeze. So, I remember this big black tube and the water running out, so you have to make it to the tube and you go, and then you run immediately back again, where the next one runs out again and it goes like back and forth like this. Anyway, I don't want to go into the very early days. But just to illustrate, what a luxury we have nowadays. And still, you didn't find really frustrated about it, right? We didn't saw it was something wrong with this, really. It was bliss. The bliss was all pervading, whatever anybody can say. The bliss was all pervading that all these so-called important things of today we see, they are not so important. This was not so important. And of course, naturally, that spirit spilled out to the street, where you found, other people walking around, and they saw, I never saw people who are so happy, Yeah. Like I heard New York police, they had in the police stations, they had a leaflet, how to recognize Hare Krishnas on the streets. Because already those days, they already started to distribute books in disguise. Up to the point they introduced Greeks, anyway. We tried to copy this in Germany with a disastrous effect. To go out with a pig on the street is just, and Monday morning the whole crew of brahmacharis issues from the temple with the most wow haircuts.
Preaching. You wrote about Varnashram. And towards the later years of Prabhupada's time with us, he elaborated more on that. And it's reported that he said that 50% of my work is not done for not having, I still have to show Varnashram. So if you think what Prabhupada did, 50% is a lot. Prabhupada was pushing a lot that people should live on the land, devotees should live on the land, live simply, produce their own food, and chant Hare Krishna. This is very revolutionary. That it means a rejection of the modern society, that we live in communities among ourselves, devotees. We hardly associate. If we live on farms together, we don't associate with non-devotees, we associate only with devotees. By producing our own necessities, minimum necessities, then we don't have to live in the city, get a job, or do like this, which forces us to associate with non-devotees. And as Prabhupada said, modern leaders will force you to work like hogs and dogs and asses. You just simply have to work. And we have to live according to the standards of the Kami society. We have to associate with non-devotees, and naturally there's not enough time to sadhana, and there won't be inclination for it to bad association either. So Prabhupada, it's not that he didn't talk about social development, but he gave a revolutionary idea. Just like one time, I'll just give an example. Many times Prabhupada spoke about the cat, dog, hog society. So one time some reporter came into Prabhupada's room and said, Swamiji, your disciples, don't you think they look very strange the way they're dressed? Prabhupada looked at him and said, my disciples are like diamonds in your filthy society. The man walked out.
So Prabhupada was disgusted with this society. I mean, even though India today is degraded, when you come from India to the West, and you see, just like, you see the women walking around with their legs showing and their breasts sticking out, and it's just so uncultured and low class. But this is the normal way. I mean, it's just one example of the normal society in the modern world. So Prabhupada wanted that we produce our own. How this is so revolutionary, it means that we reject your society. We don't want to live in your society. And very revolutionary that Prabhupada said we produce all that we need, self-sufficiency. We don't even need money. Once you use money, then you're trapped in their society. And you have to earn it, and then you have to spend it, and the whole idea is to make, modern education is to make people workers and consumers. Work, 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 buy, buy, buy. All things that you don't need. And people are trapped in this, and the minimum necessities of life are food, clothing, shelter, and sex. These are the basic necessities of the body. And sex is also not 100% essential, but most people feel some need for it. So that can all be got very simply, but now you need food, clothing, shelter, lots of clothing, all different varieties of food from all over the world. And it's not just enough to have a simple house, you have to have a fancy house with TV, car, washing machine, electricity, which you have to pay for, so you have to work for it. So many things, just like the other day, someone was in Vienna, someone was saying that this is brought some bottled water and said, oh, it's not bottled water, it's normal water. I said, what do you mean normal water? The one that comes from the pipe. And I said, just see, this is modern civilization. We think that water, normal water, comes from a pipe. Normal water doesn't come from a pipe, it comes from the earth. But we think it's normal that it comes from a pipe. So these are necessities. Food, clothing, shelter, and sex, and sex with one partner throughout life, that's also not enough in the modern life. So we have so many necessities which we have to work for, and we get in so much anxiety. So Prabhupada's revolutionary plan was to go to the land, but we have more or less given up on that. We think, well, it's not possible, it's too austere. Too austere, yeah, maybe a little austere. You have to go out in the winter and chop the wood and all this and that. But in modern life, it's also austere. You have to. Most people are working they're working in jobs that they don't like to do. They're working for people that they don't like. I'm talking about the companies. You're working for people. Many people don't even know who they're working for. They work in some big multinational corporation. There's no chance of them ever meeting the boss, and they have no idea who he is. They don't know who they're working for. And no one cares for anyone else. So that's austere, and it's austere that nowadays they think both husband and wife have to work, otherwise there's not enough money. Then the wife is at work all day with other men apart from her husband. She knows them better than the husband. And after some time she thinks that, what do I need my husband for? This guy, why don't I try him out? And this way the whole family life is broken down. And this is austere. City life is austere. But because we can walk in and flick a switch and we get light, and we get heat, and we get normal water in a pipe, and we think that, this milk, you just go and you don't have to keep a cow, you just go and buy it. Normal water is in a pipe and normal milk is in a packet. Milk comes from a packet and vegetables come from a shop and light comes from a switch. So now we're talking about social development in terms of how to fit in Kami society. But devotees don't fit in Kami society. We're an anomaly in Kami society. We don't, it's a square peg in a round hole. And what we're doing, we're different, we're square peg. You know the saying, you know that in your language? Square, it's an English saying. A square peg in a round hole. It means something that doesn't fit. It's not meant to be there. No, I'd say this example is better. A square peg in a round hole. The hole is round, and you're trying to put a peg, which is square, rectangular. You're trying to fit it. It doesn't fit properly. It's not meant to go in there. So in the same way, we're trying to fit devotees into Kami society. They don't fit. So the only way we can fit is to become like Kamis, and then we lose our Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada could see this. Therefore, he gave already the commentary for social development. But we don't want to do that, so we have another idea, and it's always a big problem because it doesn't work. Because square pegs don't fit in round holes. We're trying to do something which is not at the very beginning, it's not a very possible proposition that we can be Krishna conscious living among people who are not Krishna conscious. It's the first symptom of a devotee. Asat sangatya evaishnavacha. So devotees can live in the cities to preach. If we're attacking Maya, then we can remain strong. But if we're taking shelter of Maya, then how can we take shelter of Krishna? So Prabhupada already gave the idea of social development. It's just that we don't want to accept it. We have another idea. We think that Prabhupada would preach different. Now Prabhupada told us what to do already, and we're trying to avoid that and saying, well, Prabhupada would have told us to do this. He already told us what to do. That's my question. Social development. Yeah, want to say something? Just to add to that, social development becoming part of Kami society, and Kami society in the modern world is extremely degraded. So we're importing all these things, and we're trying to make it Krishna conscious and justified in Prabhupada's name. Divorce, women's liberation, and now homosexuality. Some of our big leaders are proposing that we should have homosexual communities within our movement. Yes, because we're trying to become part of the modern world and live according to their standards, and trying to justify that actually in Vedic culture homosexuality is considered auspicious. I think it's a joke. One of our GDCs is preaching this. Homosexuals are considered auspicious. So this is what comes when we compromise. Prabhupada's instructions are perfect, and if we follow them, then we will be perfect. And if we don't follow them, then we'll either ascribe imperfection to Srila Prabhupada, or we'll adjust we'll think we are more perfect than Prabhupada, and we'll come up with a more perfect formula, and say, so-called more perfect formula, and say that this is actually what Prabhupada would have preached nowadays. He already gave us everything. Please, I'd like to speak. Do you want the mic? Then we get what? Then you get a pension, yeah? If you're a good Kami all your life, you'll get a pension. They'll look after you all the way to the grave and then beyond. That's looked after by Yamaraj. That's the thing, we're taking Krishna, actually for thousands of years, people lived by Krishna's gifts. Money was not required. Krishna gives everything from the land. It's only a modern idea that you have to give money, then you get a packet of milk. Give money, then you get vegetables. Everyone grew their own vegetables. Maybe some people, Brahmins, people would give them. We're so much brainwashed by modern society that we think this is the only way to live. We have to live like, if I don't get a degree then how can I get a job, and how can I live? This is training in Shudra mentality, Prabhupada noted. People think you have to get a degree, then you can go door to door and beg, please give me a job, please give me a job. Oh, I got a very good job. Prabhupada said it's just the society of Shudras. Prabhupada is trying to elevate us to the platform of Brahmanas. But now we're saying, better that we all become Shudras. And then what kind of philosophy can we expect from Shudras? Prabhupada would have spoken something else. Prabhupada never wanted us to become Shudras. He wanted us to become the leaders of society, to give a new spiritual direction, not to become part of this cat dog, bottomless, topless society that Prabhupada used to criticize. All the sophisticated men with their suits and ties, they're all going to the topless, bottomless bars. Prabhupada said, these are respectable people. Prabhupada never wanted us to become part of this. And we want social development. Anyway, this could turn into a social development discussion. It's supposed to be praise of Prabhupada. But like I said, real praise of Prabhupada is if we can manifest his desires in society instead of trying to adjust our desires and put Prabhupada's leave along them. Then it becomes Christianity. You see, they keep the picture of Jesus. Actually, they crucify him. They keep him on the cross. They keep him on the cross forever. And they go to church once a week and they pray to him, and then they don't follow his instructions. Jesus said you cannot love mammon and love God. Mammon means material enjoyment. So he's just there for blessing, that's all. As for his instructions, well, that's compromised. Jesus was, he was a pretty fanatical kind of person. And if you want to, what people nowadays would call fanatical, he was just walking along, and he saw some fishermen, and they were, they had their families and everything. He said, "Hey, drop your nets, come and join me on the spot." They just gave up their families and came and joined him. So that's the way preachers preach. I've got something more important for you. I'm making you fishers of men. You have to catch men and put them in the net. That was his preaching. Jesus also said, there's so many things. I have not come to join son to father and father to son, but to turn them against each other. It didn't get edited out of the Bible. Lots of things did. That didn't. But you don't hear that being preached very much. So let's not make this compromised. Now the churches, they're having gay priests and gay marriages. Let's keep. This movement is meant to make a revolution. It's a spiritual revolution. Not that we just go back to the commie life. Then where's the development? Then what's the meaning of social development? Real development is spiritual development. That we should see to first. Everything else is subservient to that. If we think we have to do social development first, and then spiritual development later, then we end up in a factory. But if we understand that our spiritual development is most important, then we develop our social life on the basis of that rather than vice versa, then we can actually be Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna.
I just want to mention regarding the pensions, as pensions were mentioned. Maybe it's good to note that most developed states, economically developed states of today, already spent their money for the future generation of pensions long time ago. Please be aware of that. that like United States of America is the most indebted place in the whole world. Just that Germany is wondering how they're going to pay pensions for the next generation of people because the money is not there anymore. It's spent.
Also here they cannot live.
So if somebody comes with a pension, I'm now studying in Czech Republic.
Yeah, that's another point. The pension in most countries is not allowed to live anyway.
It's just like
they give it to you at the 20 years ago rate, and then you get nothing. It's all works out to be nothing.
Even it's the same pension they promised you 30, 40 years ago. By the time it coming, the inflation chewed it up to such a degree you can buy yourself 2 packs of milk and 1 piece of bread. So, this is a very weak, this pension concern.
It's all the politicians are cheating. All the countries owe something. Who they owe to? Someone's got a lot of money somewhere. It's all cheating. Money. This money allows the governments to cheat. Prabhupada saw through it all. They can just manipulate you.
No, they're preventing life insurance. So you pay.
Oh, another thing, your pension. Oh yeah, you want a pension. But now they're bringing in more and more this idea of euthanasia. When you get old and you can't work, they kill you! Because they can't pay your pension. So they say, when you're old and you're sick, so it's better that you just die. That's it. That's the solution the governments have come up with. Then you don't have to pay the pension. Just have an injection. Now they're allowing it, and then after some time it'll be by force. Now it's legal, and in Holland at least, and more and more they're promoting that actually it's a very good thing. Just see how demonic. And actually old people are useless. In modern life, old people are useless because they can't work and they can't contribute to your sense gratification. And there's nothing, what's the point? So you might as well kill them, because the whole society is only meant for sense gratification. Previously, in spiritually oriented societies, old people from birth, they were imbibing spiritual knowledge, so by the time they were old, they were full of spiritual knowledge, and they could help the younger generations come up spiritually and be respected for that. But in the modern age, sense gratification is the only goal of life, and old people are just a burden. You have to look after them, and that impedes your sense gratification. And it costs money, that impedes your sense gratification. And you can't enjoy with them, they have nothing to enjoy, so why should they live? They've got nothing to add to society. They're just a burden on society, because society's only goal is sense gratification. So kill them. Makes sense. It's logical. That's it. Enjoy your pension. Yeah, please.
How do we comment that Ramananda Roy had a pension?
Ramananda Rai had a pension.
Which got from the king.
He got from the king, yes, because the king was so pleased that he gave up his responsible job in his service, because he's just going to spend all his time with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussing spiritual topics. But he was a family man, so the king said, yes, you take, to support your family, you take this. He voluntarily gave it. And that is in Vedic culture, Brahmanas, they're supported by society voluntarily. The king voluntarily gave it. It wasn't that he had a whole pension scheme. Brahmanas are supported, they live a simple life, and they're supported by society, who people voluntarily give because they appreciate that the Brahmanas are giving us such valuable things, and wonderful spiritual knowledge and material knowledge also. So they appreciated it and they gave it. And all people would be supported. What to speak of old people, even old animals would be supported. Because they worked all their life, but now they kill the animals, because the cows and bulls, they're just an economic object. So this whole society is very, very simple, and why devotees want to take part in it, and they think too difficult to live on the land. Most people in this country still live on the land. With machines, yeah. Worse than in the city? Yeah, I mean, they're not enlightened. Simply living on the land doesn't mean that you're enlightened. It's simple living and high thinking, not simple living and low thinking. There's no value to living on the land and living with the consciousness of the pigs on the land. The point is to be Krishna conscious. But I'm making the point that the devotees think it's too difficult to live on the land, but so many people are doing so. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying they're all self-realized because they're living on the land. So this is the best. I mean, actually it's true that the devotees are coming and we should give them some guidance how they can live their whole lives in Krishna consciousness. Some plan should be there. Otherwise we see people come, they take up Krishna consciousness, and mostly nowadays it's what we call congregational devotees, and often they don't go very far. It's very difficult to do anything nowadays because they're just so busy making a living. And unless we have time every day for sadhana and service, then how are we going to advance? But household devotees are just so busy with maintaining their families that to fit in 16 rounds, it's like an achievement. And what's the quality of those rounds also? So yeah, we should think about social development very seriously. There's no development in the city life. There may be a few who are able to do it, maybe because of circumstances, maybe they have money from their parents or something like that. There's not many in this country like that. Or they're very expert in, they're able to do some business or something without spending much time. There are a few, but for the majority of devotees, they're just sucked into the economic whirlpool which sucks them down into kami life practically. And if they can chant a few rounds here and there, maybe come to the temple on Sunday, that's about it. So there's not much hope of advancement in such a situation. It's difficult. We're not condemning you for that, but we're just talking about reality. So wouldn't it be better even to accept the austerity of living? And actually after some time you get to like it because it's actually a very pleasant way of life instead of living in the thing is we're just addicted to city life. It's like we get the adrenaline. It's like drug addicts. They're addicted to or it's like you take coffee and then you get an adrenaline boost, and then we can't live without that. So in the city, it's very rajasic, and we get this adrenaline all the time, juke in our system. We can't imagine living without that. And then when we go to the country, then people who live in the city, when they go to the country, they can't sleep at first because it's too quiet. That's true. They're just used to the sound of noises and all this, and it's too relaxed. It's too peaceful. But after some time, we don't appreciate it because we're in Rajagun. We don't appreciate Sakragun. And but after some time, we get to appreciate it. It's actually very nice to live like this. A much better way of life. There are some difficulties, but then. Actually, Prabhupada said the main point in living on the land is to save time to chant Hare Krishna. And we always think, well, farmers, they're so busy. But they're busy because they're part of the modern economic system in which you have to produce more than you need to get back more than you need. So you can to have the machines to work on the land, you have to produce money from your farming to pay the payments on the machine, and then when they get broken and all this. So they're caught in the economic trap that you have to work more to produce more than you need. And they're doing cash crops. And if the crop fails or if there's overproduction, either it fails or there's overproduction. Either way, you don't make any money. Then you go in debt to the bank. But natural living is you just produce what you need, and then you have all various kinds of crops. So, and you keep a stock of grains. If there's overproduction, you keep a stock. So if the next year there's a shortage, then you're okay. And you produce various crops. So various crops means you do different vegetables for your family and this and that. So if one of them fails, then at least you get the other one. So people are working very hard on the land in modern life because they're doing agri-business, growing cash crops and producing animals for slaughter for cash. But it's not actually necessary to do so. There is hard work, but it's mostly seasonal. In this country, during the winter, you won't have so much work because there's no farming. Another thing is living on the land is that not everyone's a farmer. It's only a certain number of people do farming full time. Everyone, even recently, you'll find that everyone, probably even still in Slovenia, outside of Ljubljana and maybe Manidhara, even if they're a teacher or a doctor, whatever, they grow there some food for themselves also. It's still like that, probably in the whatever you're doing, you still have some land and you grow something. So everyone will grow something, or maybe have at least 1 or 2 cows. But they may be, like I said, teacher, doctor, whatever. So it's not that everyone's full-time engaged on the land. Some people are. But even those who are full-time engaged, like I said, during the winter there's nothing to do. And at least on the land, there are other things like, you may sharpen up your instruments, or maybe do some carpentry work, or things. There are always things to do. But you have, but even during the year, there's work every day. Cows, for instance, you have to look after them every day. There's nothing wrong with work, by the way. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, what is that? Sharira yatra vichate na prasiddhyada karmana. Even to maintain the body, one has to do some work. Everyone has to do some work. So, but the intense work comes just like when there's plowing and sowing and harvesting. Otherwise, a lot of the time, the plants are just growing. And there's a little bit of weeding and maybe watering. And a lot of the time, you're just watching the plants, actually. I mean, there's always some different plant to plant. But it doesn't have to be intense work all the time. And then you say, another thing is, save time means, if you don't use electricity, then we're living in darkness a lot of the time. And in darkness you can't do much work, but you can chant Hare Krishna. So you get at least 50% of the year. Of course, some of the time is spent sleeping also. But we get time. In modern life, we think we have to work morning to night and through the night because electricity gives that facility. But if we don't have electricity, then automatically the work comes to end at sunset. Then you chant Hare Krishna. If we can do this, this will be very pleasing to Prabhupada. There's no reason not to. It's a suggestion. Recently I was in Dubai, where we have many Indian devotees in our congregation. So I opened up the lecture by saying that, well, Srila Prabhupada gave us a program where morning and evening we come together, and if you add it up, it comes to at least 6.5 hours of sadhana every day. There are about 400 people there. So I asked, how many of you do 6.5 hours sadhana every day? They're all working people. And 2 Matajis put their hands up. That was 2 more than I expected. But they're staying at home, so maybe they have some time. Then I asked, how many of you would like to do 6.5 hours sadhana a day? And all the hands went up. Then I made the point that in modern life, it's set up so you can't do it. What is our real necessity? Our real necessity, food, clothing, shelter, that's automatically provided. It's not that we should be in so much anxiety for food, clothing and shelter. It's given by God. We're in total anxiety how to get these things. We need to get some money, how to get some money. It's so complex. By the grace of God, everything is there. We make society so complex that we're in total anxiety just to get the basic necessities of living. But our real necessity is to hear and chant about Krishna, but we don't have time to do it. So then I gave what Prabhupada's proposal is. Go to them. I said, I don't think any of you are going to take this very seriously, but at least you could start to think about it. Because what they're thinking is, you see, we'll work now, and I was saying this, that they're thinking, we'll work now, and then when we're older we'll retire, then we'll have time for sadhana. But what about now having time for sadhana? It can be right now. You don't have to wait till you're 65 to have time for sadhana. You can have time right now. So, I was just giving a suggestion, but actually some of them took it very seriously. Yes, why do I have to live like this? I don't want to live like this. Very rushed life, rush up to the office, working in some job which is don't like, but working with people I don't like, working for people I don't like, doing something I don't want to do, which is actually all the modern jobs, they're all sinful practically. They're all just like one devotee and I said, well, I got a job in a bank. You see, that's, it's not that sinful. I said, my dear sir, these banks these are the ones that are financing slaughterhouses. They're doing all the money laundering for it comes through these banks, for all the drug business, all the big businesses in the world, and all this weapons business. It's all, you don't see it. The money looks clean to you, but it's all got blood on it. So it's very difficult to find any really clean business. This was Prabhupada's idea. And we continue to do it right now if you want. This is a great idea for social development. So, Brahman, Kshatriya, or Vaishya means someone, he doesn't depend on someone else. People are always saying, well, ISKCON has to make some social development. But actually, if you're not a Shudra, then you should be able to look after yourself. If you think I have to be employed by someone, then it's definitely not right Brahminical nature. So be bold. Krishna will look after you.
Hare Krishna.
Say something.
See, I'm one of these, they call me a dinosaur. Or a fundamentalist. I take it as a compliment. Dinosaur means they wish I was extinct, but and fundamentalist is a term which means, in modern language, fundamentalist means someone who's fanatic, but fundamentalist means someone who believes in the fundamentals. So I happen to believe in what Srila Prabhupada said, and that everything he said is perfect. And if we simply follow it, then everything will be perfect, and we don't have to change it or speculate that if Prabhupada was here now, he'd say something different, and therefore we shall say something different, and this is what Prabhupada would have said if he was here now. I don't follow that. I'm a fundamentalist. So dinosaur means something from a previous age, but Prabhupada, what he gave is perfect. We don't really. not only do we not have to change them, but if we change it, then we lost our contact with Prabhupada. So we should have faith. Guru Mukha Padma Vakichitete Korea Aika Arna Korea Manyasha. When what the words from the lotus mouth of our spiritual master, we put that in our heart and we don't desire anything else. Power comes, spiritual power comes from faith in the words of the Guru. And the Parampara works by simply having faith in the words of the Guru, repeating them, following them, and teaching others to do so. And as soon as we change, then the Parampara is broken. And there's no spiritual potency, and we become mundane. Prabhupada gave us everything. We don't have to speculate on what he would have changed now. Hare Krishna. Do I finish that? Hare Krishna. All praise to His Manidhara.